Violence against women has no place in our city. What an extraordinary thing to say.
Nick Ferrari reacts to Tommy Robinson's fiery clash with Sadiq Khan. Okay, you're not going to believe what just happened. London's Assembly chamber turned into pure chaos, and now one of Britain's sharpest broadcasters, Nick Ferrari, has been left completely stunned. This wasn't politics as usual. It was a collision. A clash that drew in Sadiq Khan, Tommy Robinson, and now, Ferrari, who's never been one to hold back when something explosive happens in British politics. And the way he reacted tells you everything about just how serious and how unpredictable this moment really was. The Assembly meeting started like any other. Speeches, debates, policy discussions, the kind of thing most people tune out of. But suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. Tommy Robinson, the figure who seems to generate controversy wherever he goes, made his move. He confronted Khan directly, his words sharp, emotional, designed to sting. The chamber erupted. Members shouted back. The speaker struggled to restore order. Cameras caught every second of it, Khan holding his composure at first, then showing flashes of frustration as the clash dragged on. And just like that, the headlines were no longer about policy, they were about the drama. Now here's where Nick Ferrari enters the picture. When clips of the clash reached his studio, Ferrari looked visibly taken aback. He shook his head, leaned back, and said, "I've been covering politics for decades, but this felt different. This was chaos inside a chamber that's supposed to represent Londoners." Ferrari's reaction wasn't just surprise, it was concern. He pressed a question that's now being echoed everywhere. If the mayor can't control the Assembly, how is he going to convince people he can control the city? It was a pointed, almost surgical question. And it landed hard. But what's fascinating is how divided the reactions have been. One camp cheered Ferrari on. Social media posts read, "Finally, a journalist saying what the rest of us are thinking." Khan looked cornered. Another side, though, blasted Ferrari, calling him opportunistic. One comment read, "Ferrari exaggerates everything. Khan handled himself better than anyone else could under that circus." And then, of course, Robinson supporters flooded in with their own spin celebrating the disruption, framing it as proof that people are fed up with business-as-usual politics. In other words, this single clash created three completely different stories, depending on who you ask. And that's exactly why it matters. Politics isn't just about what happens inside government anymore. It's about how those moments are framed, replayed, and dissected across the media landscape. Tommy Robinson created the spark. Sadiq Khan tried to contain the fire. Nick Ferrari threw fuel on the flames by asking the hard questions live on air. And now, the public is left to sort through the smoke. Nick Ferrari has built his reputation on being blunt, direct, and unafraid to call out leaders. Over the years, he's grilled prime ministers, ministers, and mayors alike. But this time felt different not just because of the chaos, but because of how raw the exchanges were. The Assembly isn't meant to look like a street brawl. It's meant to be orderly, representative, professional. Yet the images people saw shouting, disruption, finger-pointing told a different story. Ferrari captured that perfectly. He didn't have to dramatize it, the chaos spoke for itself. All he did was hold up the mirror. Now, the political fallout. For Sadiq Khan, this is tricky territory. His critics will seize on every raised eyebrow, every frustrated response. They'll argue he looked defensive, maybe even weak. For Robinson, the clash is a win in its own way. By forcing his way into the spotlight, he redirected attention onto himself and onto issues his supporters say Khan avoids. And for Ferrari, this is another moment that reinforces his role as Britain's political referee. He doesn't just report what happens. He frames it, questions it, makes sure the public sees the cracks politicians would rather cover up. The ripple effects are already showing. One journalist wrote, "This wasn't just a clash. It was a reminder of how fragile public trust has become. One chaotic moment, and suddenly the mayor's authority is under question." Another insider suggested, "Don't underestimate Ferrari's influence here. His reaction will stick in people's minds as much as the clash itself." And the public? They're split, angry, amused, confused. One tweet summed it up perfectly, "I don't know who won that argument, but I know London lost." So, what happens next? Khan will try to move past this quickly, emphasizing policy wins and stability. But the problem is, those clips of him clashing with Robinson and Ferrari's stunned reaction will keep circulating. Robinson will keep capitalizing on the chaos, using it as proof that the establishment is fragile, vulnerable. And Ferrari, he'll keep doing what he does best, putting politicians on the spot, forcing them to answer questions that hit harder than most attacks from the opposition. But here's the bigger point. Politics today isn't just about governing. It's about surviving the spectacle. And this spectacle is one that won't be forgotten anytime soon. The question now is, was this just one chaotic day in the assembly? Or was it the start of something much bigger, a sign that the pressure on Khan is reaching a boiling point, and that voices like Robinson's and Ferrari's are reshaping the conversation? Because if this was just the beginning, then London politics is about to get even more unpredictable.